In a world that celebrates noise over nuance, true intelligence rarely announces itself. It doesn't wear a badge, and it doesn't crave applause. It hides in plain sight, operating quietly, strategically, and with precision. Niccolò Machiavelli, the cold observer of power, believed that the sharpest minds were not the loudest, but the most disciplined. Intelligence, Tim, wasn't about how much you knew, but about how you used what you knew, and how invisibly you could turn knowledge into control. So how do you know if you're smarter than most people? Not by test scores, not by titles, not by degrees. The real signs are subtle. They show up in how you see, how you adapt, and how you play the human game while others don't even know they're on the board. Let's uncover the 10 Machiavellian signs of rare intelligence. Some of these will sting. Some will confirm what you've quietly known all along. And if you recognize yourself in them, you may discover that your mind is not just smart, it's dangerous. Sign 1. You know the power of silence. The wise man does at once what the fool does at last. Most people can't handle silence. Put them in a quiet room, and they'll rush to fill the space with words, opinions, emotions, noise. But you've learned that silence isn't emptiness. It's leverage. You don't speak to prove you exist. You speak when it matters, when words are weapons, not reflexes. Silence lets people underestimate you. It makes them uncomfortable. And in their discomfort, they reveal things they never would have said if you had jumped in to fill the void. Silence also makes you unprovable. When you don't reveal your full thoughts, no one can pin you down. You become unreadable, which makes you untouchable. What it reveals about your mind: you value restraint over attention. You understand that timing is more powerful than volume. And you know that in a room full of people desperate to be heard, the quietest one often holds the most power. Sign 2. You see through motives, not masks. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few really know what you are. Most people take words at face value. If someone says they're helping out of kindness, they believe it. If someone claims to be angry at one thing, they stop there. But you instinctively dig deeper. You look for the string attached, the hidden motive, the wound behind the anger. This isn't paranoia. It's pattern recognition. You notice tone shifts, delayed responses, micro-expressions, fake enthusiasm. You don't get fooled by the surface. You're always scanning beneath the mask. Manipulators hate people like you. Their tricks bounce off because you don't buy charm, flattery, or guilt trips. You read intentions, not just words. What it reveals about your mind: you trust patterns more than promises. You've likely been betrayed before, and that pain sharpened your perception. You understand that people rarely say what they really mean, and you've learned to decode the truth hidden in a lie. Sign 3. You use curiosity as a weapon. The great majority of mankind are satisfied with appearances. Average minds stop asking questions once they feel safe. Smart minds never stop asking. But your curiosity is different. It's not a hobby, it's a weapon. You don't just wonder how things work. You want to know who benefits, who set the rules, and how the system can be bent. You reverse engineer success. You analyze influence. You don't just look at outcomes. You trace the invisible strings that made them possible. Most people become fixed in their thinking by their mid-20s. But you stay adaptable, endlessly unlearning and relearning. Curiosity keeps you dangerous because it keeps you unpredictable. What it reveals about your mind: you instinctively seek leverage. You look past appearances into mechanics. And your ability to stay curious long after others stop is what keeps you ahead. Sign 4. You don't get bored. Men are driven by 2 principal impulses, either by love or by fear. One of the rarest signs of intelligence is that you can sit alone in silence and never feel restless. Most people need stimulation, apps, gossip, entertainment, because their minds can't generate their own worlds. But you can build empires in your head. You simulate conversations. You test strategies. You dissect memories and connect dots no one else noticed. You don't need noise to feel alive. Your imagination is fuel, and your thoughts are enough to keep you entertained for hours. This is more than imagination. It's autonomy. You don't rely on external distraction. You're your own algorithm. What it reveals about your mind: you are mentally self-reliant. You don't chase dopamine to escape boredom. You use solitude to sharpen yourself. That makes you more dangerous in stillness than most people are in action. Sign 5. You don't prove you're smart. It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose. Here's the paradox. The smartest people don't go around announcing it. They don't argue to show off. They don't quote books to impress. They let others underestimate them. Why? Because proving your intelligence is weakness. The more you reveal, the more predictable you become. Power doesn't lie in being recognized as brilliant. It lies in moving quietly while others never see you coming. What reveals about your mind: you've outgrown the ego trap. You weaponize humility. You measure intelligence by outcomes, not applause. Influence matters more than recognition, and you'd rather win silently than be right publicly. Sign 6. You let others think it was their idea. The wise man does not expose himself needlessly to danger. You don't need to force people to agree with you. You plant seeds. You ask questions that lead them to rethink. You create conditions where they feel like they came to the conclusion themselves. This isn't charm. It's strategic suggestion. Most people resist being convinced, but they love their own ideas. You exploit that truth. You steer without resistance, and people walk straight into the path you intended. What it reveals about your mind: you don't crave credit, only control. You understand that influence is stronger when people believe it was their choice. Sign 7. You don't react, you calculate. A wise ruler ought never to keep faith when by doing so it would be against his interests. Most people are slaves to emotion. Someone insults them, they snap. Someone betrays them, they break. But not you. You've learned, or life has taught you, to resist impulse. When provoked, you don't explode. You wait. You create space between stimulus and response. And when you finally move, it's devastating because it's precise. What it reveals about your mind: you've replaced emotional reaction with strategy. You care less about being right and more about winning. That patience makes you unstoppable in conflict. Sign 8. You turn pain into power. This is one of the hidden signs no one talks about. Most people get crushed by betrayal, humiliation, or rejection. But you process pain differently. You study it. You let it refine you. Every scar becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes data. You don't let emotions bury you. You turn them into sharpened perception. That's why nothing fools you twice. What it reveals about your mind: you've built resilience most people never develop. You see suffering not as punishment, but as training. And because of that, your intelligence has a depth others can't match. Sign 9. You master the art of camouflage. Machiavelli taught rulers to appear harmless, even generous, while plotting with precision. You understand the same principle. You don't reveal your full strength. You blend in, play humble, let people underestimate you. You nod, you smile, you let them think they're ahead. All the while, you're watching, calculating, planning your strike. What it reveals about your mind: you know visibility attracts enemies. Invisibility protects power. You don't need to shine. You need to survive and control. Sign 10. You control the tempo of the game. This is the deadliest sign of all. Most people live reactively. They respond to whatever happens. But you set the rhythm. You know when to move fast and when to delay. You create urgency when it benefits you. You slow things down when it traps your opponent. You don't just play the game, you control its speed. What it reveals about your mind: you've learned that time itself is a weapon. By mastering tempo, you dictate the battlefield. Others think they're free, but they're moving on your schedule. If you recognize yourself in these 10 signs, you're not just intelligent, you're strategically intelligent. You've mastered silence, motives, curiosity, resilience, invisibility, and control. You don't need recognition because real power doesn't beg to be seen. It waits, it plans, it strikes when the timing is perfect. But there's a cost. Rare intelligence is isolating. It makes you misunderstood, envied, even feared. Machiavelli himself warned that being sharper than others is both a weapon and a burden. Your job, then, is not to flaunt your intelligence, but to protect it, wield it wisely, and remember this final truth: in a world built to control ordinary minds, survival belongs to those who can think 10 steps ahead and never let anyone see the full board.